Our mantra here at Layne's is written on the wall: protect the brand, protect the franchisee.
What does that mean to you?
It means everything. So basically every decision that gets made inside, we're in the conference room right now. Anybody on the team, we ask when they bring us any problem, any solution to a problem, or whatever it is, they always have to have the answer. Does it, one, protect our brand? And two, does it protect the franchisee? If it doesn't say yes to those two things, then it goes back to the drawing board.
What does brand mean to you? When you say protect the brand, what are you protecting?
So protect the brand is basically our culture, our logos, trademarks, the way that we serve our food. It's basically Layne's. So if what somebody's suggesting we do, whether it be a franchisee, whether it be somebody in-house or somebody externally, one of our vendor partners, if what they're proposing doesn't equal Layne's, then we don't want to do it.
This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, CEO of Layne's Chicken Fingers, Garrett Reed. My man Garrett, are you feeling unstoppable today?
I'm feeling unstoppable, Eric. Thank you very much.
Psyched to be here. So you came on my radar twice in 30 days. And this is how I like to find my guests. First, Kyle Gordon from Dilla's Quesadillas.
Yep.
I asked him, like, who's doing it right? I'm going to be out in Texas. He's based here in Dallas as well.
Yep.
And he, like, immediately was like, what they're doing over at Layne's is really impressive. First time. Second time, I was talking to, I'm pretty sure, when I was talking to Charles Intercanola, who is a franchise lawyer, he mentioned Layne's too. Or maybe it was Amir. I can't keep track, but people are talking about you.
Amir could have. Yeah, there's a little buzz going around.
Yeah, you're doing great things, and this is a research journalistic type podcast. I don't think I should be the one who decides who should be made an example of. I think the industry recognizes success. Mm-hmm. Good people recognize good people. I'm just following the clues that brought me here. I can't wait to get into your story. Before we do, let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Okay, our mantra here at Layne's is written on the wall: protect the brand, protect the franchisee.
What does that mean to you?
It means everything. So basically every decision that gets made inside, we're in the conference room right now. Anybody on the team, we ask when they bring us any problem, any solution to a problem, or whatever it is, they always have to have the answer. Does it, one, protect our brand? And two, does it protect the franchisee? If it doesn't say yes to those two things, then it goes back to the drawing board.
What does brand mean to you? When you say protect the brand, what are you protecting?
So protect the brand is basically our culture, our logos, trademarks, the way that we serve our food. It's basically Layne's. So if what somebody's suggesting we do, whether it be a franchisee, whether it be somebody in-house or somebody externally, one of our vendor partners, if what they're proposing doesn't equal Layne's, then we don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
This is why it's so important.
Layne's.
Yeah. You got to write these things down. That's why we write our mission statement down. That's why we write our core values down so we can resurface them as much as possible to protect the brand.
Yeah. So that's, we live by that. Like anybody in the office, you walk around, what are you doing? Does it protect the brand? Does it protect the franchisee?
What does it mean to protect the franchisee?
What it really means to protect the franchisee, we're really protecting them from themselves. So these are individual business owners that have invested in some cases millions of dollars, and we want to make sure that we protect them from themselves. A lot of times they want to do something, they want to spend too much money on something, they have ideas about things that are kind of outside the box, and generally your franchisees are business people, they're entrepreneurs, so they have that spirit about them. And a lot of times they get into the franchising world and it's like, hey, we've set the box up. We've set this up. If you just follow what we do, you should be successful.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So sometimes you have to protect them from themselves, right? So protect the brand, protect the franchisee. So you've got to protect them because at the end of the day, our goal is for them to make money, right? If our franchisees make money, they will continue to open up more restaurants. Yeah. So we have to protect them and make sure that they can do that.
Franchisor is to franchisee as restaurant owner is into employee.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're doing is we're setting our employees up for success. Like these are the rules. If you follow the SOPs, the standards of operation, you follow our culture, and you do these things at the table or, behind the line, you will be successful. It's the same idea.
Right. It's exactly the same idea.
Yeah. I love that. Great way to get this thing started. Yeah. So before we dive into who you are,
okay,
behind every great restaurant, it's great people and great person. What is Layne's today? Big picture. How many units? Like what type of model?
As of this podcast, we're 25 open. We'll open one a week for the next 5 weeks.
Okay.
So we should end the year around between 40 and 45 units open. So
wow.
Yeah, we've sold 250
in the year,
yes.
Which means it is now April as we're recording this. So you have 9 months.
Yeah.
8 months.
Yeah.
To almost double in size.
Yeah, we've got almost an opening. We've been doing about an opening a week here for the last couple of weeks.
Okay, well, we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So QSR is how fast casual?
QSR.
QSR,
yeah.
Like, give us an idea of like unit economics. Like, what is like the in terms of like prime cost and percent margin on a chicken finger concept like you?
So our target prime cost is 55.
Okay.
That's where we want our franchisees to be. We run 8 corporate locations, and so we actually run our corporate locations exactly like our franchisees run them. We charge them the same fees and all that kind of stuff, so we know. But 55 is the number that we want them to hit. So if they can be 55 or under, that's where they should be.
Got it. And I know you personally, we're talking about the brand, but you personally have a background in real estate.
I do, yes.
And I think I'm really interested in getting your perspective.
It's a strange story.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be real good. I can't wait to dive in. So anything else we should know about the brand, the concept, things that make you unique, big picture before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at Layne's as a brand, it was started by a college kid. I don't know if a lot of people know that. So Mike Layne lived in Georgia, went to Texas A&M, moved there, was a freshman in college, and thought, I've got a fried chicken idea. And this is what I want to do. So as a kid, opened up the first Layne's in College Station. The store's still open today. And it was all about, Mike, from my understanding, was a terrible businessman. I don't think he understood prime cost. I don't think he understood.
Not many people did in 94.
Yeah, didn't understand those types of things. But he was all about the environment, right? About having fun, just being laid back, being the Astro Chicken, which is our brand stamp, our mascot. And he probably didn't focus on the other things. Right. So, he had great food, fantastic food, and a great environment.
He is why Restaurant Unstoppable podcast exists, to help those people know what they're missing.
He could have used this, some 31 years ago now. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Okay, so real quick, just kind of like take us back. Where does it make sense to start sharing your story? Take us back to, because you didn't always want to be a restaurateur.
No. So we talked about this earlier. I was a dyslexic kid that was struggling through college, just really having a hard time. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And if we're going way back in my story, ended up taking a real estate class. Loved my professor, was a life-changing guy. He thought that I had the real estate gift, and he ended up getting me a job at Radio Shack.
Okay.
Back in the 90s, doing site selection and lease negotiations for Radio Shack.
What did you love about this guy? Get into like what he saw in you.
Okay, this was Dr. Bain. Okay. He was just one of those guys that he was a real human being, right? A lot of professors are kind of stuffy or whatever, but he was just real. Everything he talked about was just real life scenarios, real things you could do. The way he taught was, hey, we're going to go out class and we're going to buy a piece of real estate. We're going to put it under contract, and we would actually do it. Like, I remember we bought a piece of real estate on I-35. The class, or he ended up doing it, but the class ended up doing it. And then through the year, like, we went through the title process, we went through the loan closing process and everything, and I think we ended up putting a billboard on it or something like that. Cool. But it was real, and I could sink my teeth into it. It wasn't just book learning.
Did he ever say what he saw in you? You said he saw something in you.
I don't know. I think I'm just always curious. I was the guy that went to his office after class and was like, well, how does this work? How does that work? I'm always curious. I'm always asking questions. And, again, wasn't the best student, but always wanted to know, I always wanted to be successful. I wanted to do my own thing. I always wanted to be different. And he was different. And so maybe he saw that in me. I don't know.
Got it. Did he reinforce something? Did he say out loud? Like, was he like, hey, Garrett, you got a knack for this? No.
It was just kind of that unspoken, when somebody gives you their time and their attention and sits and listens and focuses and pays attention, you kind of know.
Right.
Like, hey, come out to my house this weekend. Let's sit around and talk and, have a drink and talk about oil wells and just weird stuff like that. And it's like, okay, this is cool.
We need more professors like this.
I know.
Yeah. And, I think we don't have to be a quote unquote professor to be a professor. I think I've seen so many times in the past interviews of when you see something in somebody, like reinforce it, bring it out of them. Like many times young people aren't self-aware. They don't know what they're good at. They're looking for clues. And when you see that they are on track, that they got what it takes, put energy to them, help that, bring that to the surface so you can put them on the right path. Yeah.
So I will tell you this, the coolest thing, hands down, that I've experienced in the restaurant business. So I was a real estate developer for 20 something years. We'll get into this, buying lands and all that. The coolest thing that I've ever experienced in my life, hands down, is when we bought the concept and we opened up our own restaurants and I got to start working with these kids. There has been nothing better in my professional life than getting to sit there and help mold these kids. And I talked about this in an interview I did the other day. It's so neat to be able to see a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, or a 25-year-old come in, and you can see that potential in them, whatever Dr. Bain saw me. Like, you can pick it out. You can see that. And it doesn't take a lot of coaching, but it's just like, hey, have you thought about this? Or those quiet conversations you have with them, before or after work, or these things. And then you watch them go on to do things. The emails you get, the wedding invitations you get, there's hands down nothing better.
Our mission statement is to inspire, empower, and transform the industry. And I think it's that influence we have over young people that gives us this unfair advantage to change the world.
It's so cool. I mean, I have a whole text from the kids. I still call them kids, no matter how old they get. They're still my kids. I got a wedding invitation. I got one of my guys had his first kid this last year.
That's cool.
And just watching them grow and do what they do. I always tell them we're on a journey. I always say, hey, we're on a bus ride. I know where I'm going on this bus, and you decided to get on. Whether you're going to get off on the next stop or you're going to be at the end of the ride with me, let's learn and grow and become better people. But that's the most rewarding thing, hands down.
Hopefully we get to unpackage that a little bit more. But I'm curious about this whole world of real estate. What was it about real estate that appealed to you? Like, why did you fall in love with real estate?
I think real estate is unlike probably any other industry. It's kind of an unregulated Wild West. That's the way I would describe real estate. You can go in the financial world and all that kind of stuff, but real estate really is, it's just about how gritty and dirty you can get down and make things happen. There's not a lot of structure around real estate when you get outside of the the closings and the permitting and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of that fits my brain right.
Yeah, it's one of these, like, the sky's the limit. It's like you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
And there's definitely an overlap with entrepreneurism in real estate.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day in real estate, you go out and you look at a piece of dirt and you imagine what you're going to do with it. Sky's the limit. What do you want to do with this piece of dirt? And so it's the vision of, I'm going to turn this into a shopping center. I'm going to turn this into an apartment complex. I'm going to turn this into a housing development or whatever. And then, you got to go and fight the fight to get there. But it truly is, for the most part, a blank slate. I mean, there's regulations around what you can build, but you can always go change those things. But that's the cool creative part of real estate. It's a blank canvas.
Yeah. And I think if you're an entrepreneur, which I am, as the CEO of Layne's, I'm assuming you have this entrepreneurial bug where it's about it's creating opportunity for others, collaboration, seeing the big picture and bringing people along with you. And in real estate, it's how much of that depends on relationships, get into that.
Yeah, so it's all about relationships. The only reason I was a successful real estate developer is because of the people that I met along the way. I primarily built what in the industry they call triple net lease assets, which are basically these pad sites, these restaurants and things around. And so you really have to know who is in that business, who's in that game. And so it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
It's all about relationships.
So big picture, from what and thank you, LinkedIn. This is the extent of my research. 2003. So you went to school, you focused on finance and, what was the
real estate.
Real estate.
Yeah.
Accounting and finance is what I saw on LinkedIn. From there you were in retail working for Starbucks, Corner Bakery, Dunkin' Donuts, Radio Shack, or was that while you were at,
No, that was so I started at Radio Shack
Yep.
in the late 90s, went and worked for those other retailers
Got it.
Up until about 2005, and that's when I started my real estate development company, 2004, 2005.
Okay, let's bookmark that.
Yep.
2003, you were part of N3 Capital with your dad.
Yep, my dad.
You guys both and your brother?
2 business partners. No,
Okay.
my brother wasn't part of that.
Got it.
Yeah,
You guys sold your shares.
correct.
And in 2004, you started Maine and Maine Capital Group with your brother and your dad.
Correct. Yes.
And that was real estate, basically going out and just developing projects.
Yep. Real estate development. Yep.
Okay. And I think it's worth, like, in my little bit of research, they said, I think it was on the website, which is still around. You guys have closed Maine and Maine, but the website's still active.
No, Maine and Maine still operates.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's still a viable company. I just don't have anything to do with it anymore.
Oh, I don't know why I'm like Google it said permanently closed.
Oh, maybe we didn't pay our bill.
But it pointed out that you were really vital in client management.
Correct.
And I think, again, like, that's CEO material, relationships, like bringing it all. You're the glue, like kind of like the relationship glue.
Yeah. So in every organization that I've been a part of, I've never been the details guy. So my brother, he's a details guy. When we had N3 and those, I have the other details guys. I'm way more about the relationships, the vision, the what are we going to do? What are we going to create?
Got it.
Which I'm not sure what that's worth, but somebody's got to do that, right?
I mean, it's weird because what you're describing is how I feel too. And I feel like sometimes we feel like we're really good at looking around and seeing all the strengths and talents in other people. We're like, wow, that person's really good at this. That person's really good at this. Like all these people are so talented and I'm just good at talking to people, but we don't see that as being the thing. Our ability to see what other people are good at is the thing, but we don't recognize it as value, and also to see the big picture.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think that is, like, we don't recognize that as being valuable, but I guess not many people do.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things. It's like, you see a great guitar player or something like that, and you're just like, no matter how hard I practice, I can get to be good, but I can't be great.
Right.
So I think everybody in their particular discipline or skill set is that way. And I think it's relationships and talking and things like that, right? I can be pretty good at the details, but you need everybody in the business that just has that inherent ability to be great at what their specific field is.
Got it. So back to, what was your professor's plan for you, having you get, like, so, okay, you're in real estate.
Yeah.
He's telling you to go get jobs at
Radio
Shack,
yeah,
Starbucks. What was the, how does this, I think what you did, the world of finance, the world of real estate is a great skill to have if you're looking to become a restaurateur.
Right.
It's an untraditional path into the world of restaurants and becoming a restaurateur, but I think it's such a valuable skill set. What was he trying to do? What was his angle having you do these different jobs?
I don't know if he really had an angle. I think he wanted me just to go out and become successful in the real estate world. And I think he probably knew early on I wasn't a corporate guy.
Yeah.
Right. He had me pigeonholed and said, you're not going to go out to corporate America and be, you're not going to be the guy that's writing memos and become a VP of anything like that. That's not me. So I think he knew that if he could get me into that world of site selection, development, and that kind of stuff, it was more of a free-flowing entrepreneurial type of thing. So I think he was trying to push me in that direction.
So was he just trying to give you direction of different examples of retail to, like, help you find
I think so. I think
interest?
his original example was Jack in the Box. He's
Okay.
like, I think the conversation went like this. Can you believe that Jack in the Box has people in their corporate office they hire and pay to go out and find locations for Jack in the Box? Like, how simple is that?
Right.
I'm like, well, that sounds like something I could do.
So from this period to 2000, so up until 2003, you were basically getting this experience?
Yeah, no, I was in-house for, Radio Shack, and I think I started there in 98, maybe, something like that. Yeah.
And is that what your job was going around and trying to find locations?
Yeah. So my first boss, Mark Hollinger, I remember getting the job. Dr. Bain introduced me to him, sat down, didn't have any experience, didn't have anything. I was like, hey, I'm a grinder. I can work hard. Give me a shot. Dr. Bain referenced you. Okay, we'll put you in an office, and here's how it goes. And so he gave me the East Coast and the West Coast. So I had, part of California and New York, New Jersey, and all that for Radio Shack back in the day. They do really simple real estate, back then. It's just in line. The buildings are already built. You're just negotiating leases. Thought it was interesting that I had these two kind of mass, you'd think send me to Nebraska or something like that would be easy. But I really quickly figured out that he gave me those two things so I could be the very first one in the office in the morning and the very last person to leave at night. So a lot of learnings there. It was really super cool. Learned how to negotiate leases, learned what triple net was, learned the ins and outs of, what are the load capacities for different types of equipment and all that kind of stuff, lighting, packages, all that kind of stuff. And then from there, it went into the Radio Shack. And then it went to the Starbucks world where I started to learn restaurants, which are a completely different animal than your traditional retail real estate. They're so apples and oranges, it's not even funny.
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Layne, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Layne and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
I got to pull back layers on how to, triple net and how to, I think you said triple net and how to negotiate leases. Mm-hmm. And honestly, man, I think when you do good work, I feel like when you're just trying to do the right thing in your like the universe just like hand delivers you people. Mm-hmm. Just recently had somebody reach out to me literally on my drive out here, a member of Restaurant Unstoppable Network, saying, "Hey Eric, I got these opportunities with different locations. I need to negotiate leases and I don't know where to start. If you find somebody who's good at negotiating leases, man, please dive into that." So what are the biggest lessons you've learned that over the, you've been doing this, 20 years now?
Yeah, going on 30, yeah.
30 years. Like, what are like the big aha moments? Like, go deep into that vertical for me.
Yeah. So so we're talking specifically restaurants. So somebody asked you about negotiating leases for restaurants. You can, a good attorney will save you. A good lease negotiator will save you, or they'll crush you. There are so many pitfalls. It comes down to, let's say you're going to build a restaurant from the ground up. Like you're buying the dirt and you're going to build it from the ground up. I would sit and look at the purchase contract, and I would look at what your time frames are inside that purchase contract. A lot of times people that aren't familiar with the way that restaurant development works, they'll say, we'll use an example here. I'm going to buy this piece of dirt in front of this beautiful shopping mall, and I'm going to build an Italian food place, whatever, right? It's going to be 5,000 square feet. A lot of times they go in there, they put up their earnest money, and they close on that property within a certain period of time. One of the tricks of the trade or things you need to do is you need to make sure that inside your contract you have different deliverables that you can reach before you actually have to get committed to that. And what I mean by that is, have you done your due diligence to make sure that what you want to build there, you can build there, right?
Right.
If it's going to be a fast food restaurant, can you get a drive-through? Do you need a special use permit to get a drive-through? How much money do you want to put down with this guy before you do that? Is it environmentally clean? Have you done your phase 1? Have you done your phase 2?
Was it a laundromat?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is the use that you want permitted to go there? So there's all these little things. So when you're negotiating a purchase contract, you need to make sure you have all those. Where are the utilities at? I remember one time I was building a Starbucks, and all the utilities, we had got a great price on a piece of land, but all the utilities were all the way on the other side of the highway, which we had to bore under, and it became incredibly expensive. So it's all those little things. Now, when it comes to just negotiating a lease, that's a little bit different.
Okay. So I don't think if you're new at this, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that you need to think about environmental cleanliness. You don't know about, okay, well, if I do want to do drive-through to go, like, is it zoned for that? You don't know about utilities, right? So like along, like, what are like the other, like, just like hidden things? Like, if you could just like rattle off the things that should be bullet points on your checklist to look into What are those things? Anything else that we haven't tapped into?
I mean, those are the really big things. I mean, once you get past that, I mean, your utilities are massive. Your environmentals are massive. Your zoning is massive. Making sure all those things. After that, you can pretty much, build the rrestaurant that you want to build.
The other thing you said too is that you need to have enough time.
Correct.
To look into this stuff.
Correct.
Before, so get into the more details, benchmarks. How much time, and where do we go to start looking?
Right. So the very first thing you want to do, if we're still talking about purchasing land, the very first thing you want to do is you want to go down to the city. You want to sit down with the planning and zoning people. You want to have a meeting with the planning and zoning group, and you need to say, how much time does it take to get a building permit here? And they can walk you through that process, right? They might say, hey, we're going to do, on average, what's it take? I mean, 6 months could, 8 months could, 1 month it could, but they'll have an idea and they'll be able to tell you what it takes to get that done. They'll tell you they'll give you a list of, hey, these are the things that we need to see from you. That meeting is incredibly important. I mean,
how long does it take to get that meeting?
Oh, it shouldn't be long. Okay. If you went down to the city, I bet they can get you in a couple weeks.
Got it.
I mean, if you're buying something, you never know. If you got a good planning and zoning person, they might get you in there that day. They're going to be very helpful, right? Their job is to grow in their city, or let's not say that. Their job is not always to grow. Their job is to make sure that people that want to grow understand what their parameters are to grow, right?
Yeah. Protect the franchisee.
Yes. You can get in some of these cities where. I remember we were trying to build a site in Austin one time. It was awesome. Went and met with the it was kind of one of those deals that's too good to be true. Right?
Okay.
It's like,
what's the catch?
Yeah. What's the catch?
Yeah.
So I went down there and met with them, and the girl across the desk gave me this big smile, and she goes, "So what are you building here?" I'm like, "I'm building a coffee shop." She goes, "How large?" I think it was 1,800 square feet or something like that. Drive through and all this, and she's like. Have you dimensioned it on the site? And I'm like, yeah, here it is. And she goes, yeah, we've seen this before. And I'm like, okay, what's the catch? And she goes, well, that live oak tree that's right there in the corner, what are you going to do with it? And I go, well, whatever the radius is, usually you can replant. She goes, nope, can't move it. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's always something.
Oh, if I would not have gone and had that meeting with her, laid it out and said, oh, look, my building fits here. Fits perfect.
What is her title again?
What was her title?
Yeah.
She was somebody in the planning and zoning department.
Okay. But the city.
The city. Yeah. I was meeting with the city. And so it's like, okay, so you want to have your architects and your engineers protect you from that kind of stuff. They're supposed to do the research. They're supposed to do the due diligence. But there's nothing like going and sitting down right in front of them and saying, I'm the person that's doing this. Help me out.
Yeah.
Because they will help you.
And I'm assuming this is a standard meeting for them.
Yeah, they have them all the
So
time.
they probably have a list of things that they go through.
Yep.
So you don't have to go with them with your list. I mean, it might not hurt to have a list, but to make sure you're checking off your boxes.
And your architects and your engineers will tell you,
yeah,
we'll do it. No. Go to that meeting.
Yeah.
Go to that meeting.
No one is as invested as you are.
Nobody. If they're not writing checks, you go to the meeting.
Yeah, this is all great stuff. And what about triple net? You said you learned a lot about triple net lease.
Okay, so that's on the leasing side. So it's net. So it's your taxes, your insurance, and your CAM, your common area maintenance. So when you negotiate a lease, you'll have somebody say, okay, it's $40 a foot rent plus nets.
So taxes, insurance, what was the other one?
Taxes, insurance, and CAM. CAM stands for Common Area Maintenance.
Okay.
So basically it's the pool of everybody in that shopping center. If you're up north, how much does it cost to remove snow? How much does it cost to water the plants? How much does it cost to sweep the parking lot? And you want to put as many caps on the CAM as you can, right? So it's like they'll have their management fees in there. So let's try to cap those management fees. Let's try to cap that snow removal fee because, somebody could buy that shopping center and their cousin runs a snowplow business and all of a sudden your snow plowing went up by 500%. Well, if you don't have a cap on that, then they're going to pass that right through to you.
Yep.
Or management fees. Let's cap those management fees in your lease. Very important, right? Those are the expenses that can get away from you real fast. All of a sudden, your property manager pulls up in a brand new 911, and you're paying $4 more a foot. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing. It's in your lease. He can charge you whatever he wants. Get a cap on that.
Yep.
Every single year.
So what about what kind of wiggle room do you have in terms of taxes and insurance? I mean, insurance is a little bit more wiggly.
You're not going to really have the
Right.
CAM is really the only category there that you're going to be able to cap expenses in.
Okay.
You know, and I even would look inside of that CAM expenditure and make sure that they're not putting, you know, things that are depreciable in there, like structural things. Like some landlords will be like, hey, the full roof, all these kinds of things. No, that's not common area maintenance, right? And then they'll try to argue, no, it's the whole building. No, it's your building. It's your response. I'm paying you rent to take care of the building. Let's take care of the trash and the other things around there. They'll try to slide those in. I mean, that's their job, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to make as much money as they can. So those are the little things you got to look for.
Is there a general rule of thumb?
In terms of the caps?
Yeah.
I mean, I like to say, well, I used to like to say, you know, what inflation is, but let's throw that out the window.
So keep going.
2% a year,
Okay.
something like that.
So in terms of like negotiating, there's TI, right?
Right.
TI is associated with cap. Correct me if I'm wrong.
TI is associated with CAM.
CAM.
No. Two different things. So TI is going to be your tenant improvement dollars.
Right.
So that is basically, in layman's terms, TI dollars is basically a loan that your landlord's giving you up front. And the reason I call it a loan is you're going to pay that back in your rent over time. Right. So if you went into a space, white box or vanilla shell, which means your walls are taped and bedded probably, you've got a bathroom in the space. It's a shell, and he's going to quote you a rent on that. Let's say it's $20 a foot and $5 a foot in TI. Generally, there's some wiggle room in there. You can say, well, I need $10 a foot in TI. Sure, you're going to get that check. They're going to write that so you can put your tenant improvement dollars in there, but your rent's going to go up. So you're basically off balance sheet financing it. You're just putting in your rent. Now,
You're getting a loan from the landlord.
you're getting a loan from the landlord. Now, the downside of that, now if you're a new restaurateur and you're just getting started out and it's tough to get your small business loan and you're having a tough time getting cash, but you have a vision to go out and do something bigger and better, TI dollars is a great way to get money. But a bank loan, you're going to get that paid off and you're not going to have that expense anymore. Your TI dollars are in
roll
your
over
rent
once it's paid off.
forever, right?
Until you renegotiate. But good
Right.
luck bringing it down.
Yeah.
Right.
It's in there. It's in there. So
Good things to know. Where, like, I don't want to spend all of our time going into this, but
No.
like, if somebody wanted to learn more and become an expert on this stuff, like,
Yeah.
like, are there resources that come to mind, or is there like a book dedicated to this sort of thing?
I'm so old right now and I'm a terrible reader. So
I mean, I'm there with you, man. We had a little conversation before. We both realized that we're both dyslexic, and that's why audiobooks are a game changer for me personally.
I don't know of it. No.
Okay.
No. Get you a great real estate attorney.
Got it. Okay. Where we left off is kind of, over your years, your 30 years of getting into real estate and learning about building out these developments.
Mm-hmm.
You've just learned all these little things. I feel like I could keep going, but I want to kind of continue your story. So in 2000, I think the next thing we have to touch on is N3. What was N3? How did this come into your world?
So N3 was born of me and a business partner. This is when I was at my last corporate stance was at Starbucks.
Okay.
And what an awesome company back then.
Where was Starbucks when you were with them?
I was based out of the Dallas office.
Okay.
My boss lived in Fountain Valley, California.
This is the early 2000s?
Yeah, really early 2000s.
Okay.
And
What was your role there?
I was director of real estate, maybe something
Okay.
like that. I don't totally remember my title.
That was a fun time, I'm sure. In the early 2000s with Starbucks,
It
you
was
were on a wave, bro.
It was the Wild West. So Starbucks had some. We talked about this earlier. There's an opportunity, like something that's not being done. Jump on and take advantage of it if somebody's not doing it. So I went to Starbucks. It was when the drive-through was really getting introduced. Kind of when I started there was a few drive-throughs, but it was really an inline coffee shop. That's what they did. And they wanted to move towards this more fast food drive-through concept. Well, when they did that, the entire business model of the real estate department shifted, right? So it went from this inline space, like I've done for all the other clients that I had or other places that I worked to where you needed to be on an end cap with the drive-through.
What do you mean inline space?
So inline would be, so if you're in a shopping center with 5 or 6.
You got neighbors on left and right?
You got neighbors on your left and right.
End cap is
End caps, you got nobody on one side of you, got somebody
or
on the other
standalone.
side. Or standalone, yeah.
Got it.
So so we were moving to that model. And they really wanted to go standalone. They really wanted to do that, which is a difficult proposition from a company that had been running since, well, I don't know, the 70s. I'm not sure when Starbucks came into existence. And now they wanted to go and kind of change the real estate model completely. Starbucks they're not a franchise organization, so they're a corporate. And I had a great boss, a gentleman by the name of Bill Robards. Older guy at the time, and he had worked for McDonald's. He was a Ray Kroc disciple, so he was the right guy at the time to be doing the, hey, we're going to go become a QSR. Basically, is what Starbucks became. And so he kind of coached us and taught us on what we needed to do. Well,
hit me with that name one more time.
Bill Robards.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a real good guy.
Starting to realize how I do my work, my research now.
Give Bill a Google. See if he's still out there.
Robar. So he hired Starbucks hires Bill Robar to kind of take us into this QSR world.
Yeah. So he was there when I got there, and he saw things. He was the first person that helped me see things through a QSR lens, right? So up until that point, I really didn't understand what drive-through stacks were. How many cars back from the menu board you need to be, all these restaurant types of things that I really wasn't aware of. And so we started talking about how we make this building efficient and how we do these things. And I wasn't unique to this. This was happening all around the country, but he was a good mentor with this. But at the end of the day, what we had to do was we had to go out and find sites that we could execute for Starbucks. What we found was the majority of the sites that we wanted were generally old gas stations, first generation American families that had moved over here, opened up a gas station or whatever you want to call it. And so it was me and my counterpart's job. What became our job was to go in and sit down with these people and say, you're living the American dream, but what we really want you to do is close your gas station. It's a tough sell, right? When you're sitting in somebody's living room or in the back and they go, no, right? Wait a second. Let me tell you the whole pitch. That's not the whole pitch. Here's a set of plans for a Starbucks. Remember, Starbucks wasn't Starbucks as it is today, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take these plans. I want you to go to the city, get your building permit, go to the bank, get a loan, build this building, and I'm going to lease this building from you for 20 years. You tear down your gas station, you build this, and off you go.
So now you have passive income tenant for 20 years.
Correct. So that's the dream that we were selling. Now we were selling to unsophisticated developers, right? And it was a tough sell. So there's where I saw the opportunity, right? It wasn't a world of developers going out and doing this at the time. It was kind of a pioneer. Ocean. Yeah, real blue ocean. So me and my partner, we said, we could go out and just buy all these gas stations, right? Let's go start buying these gas stations. Just walking into these, because I would hear this all the time. Why don't you just write me a check? Give me $800,000. Give me $600,000, and you go do this. This is all too complicated. I heard that over and over again, and I heard no, we're going to run our gas station or write me a check. Well, that's not what Starbucks did. They didn't buy land. Right. They needed a landlord. So that's where the vision and the opportunity became apparent.
Do you think that was an opportunity missed for Starbucks not to own the land with the amount of locations they have? I mean, wasn't that like McDonald's play? Didn't their QSR, Bill Robar, tell them that you should own the land?
He probably did, but they weren't built for that.
Got it.
I mean, you needed a complete department that would be able to do that. And at the scale they were growing at the time, it would have been a massive undertaking.
Yeah. There's something to be said about knowing your lane and staying in it, and also like if you have to have a desire in order to do something. If the desire is not there, then you're gonna fail.
Yeah, I mean, Starbucks was really good at making coffee. I mean, that's what they did really well, and serving it to their guests and getting out the window. I don't think they had any desire to be in that. Get us a landlord, let those guys make that money. We're going to make money where we need to make money.
So you identify as the entrepreneur that there is an opportunity here where there are gas stations across the country where the standard operating procedure to flip these gas stations into essentially Starbucks or like something equivalent to a Starbucks. What that step-by-step process looks like.
Right.
So instead of encouraging other people to do it, you're going to have the blueprint and you're going to purchase the property and you're going to just flip the properties.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I knew was we could bring speed to the process, which is absolutely what you want in the business, right? We want to open up publicly traded companies fast. This is how many stores I promised Wall Street. This is how many I got to open up. I need to do it fast. The process at that time was very slow because it was one-off landlords.
Why publicly traded companies?
Well, they promised Wall Street a number of stores they got to open, and if they don't hit it, their stock goes down.
So they're aggressive. And I think the other variable there, this is something I've noticed too. And like when I started this podcast, I was all about I wanted to support the independent restaurant owner,
right?
The local mom and pop operations, and it was about kind of taking some of the market back from the bigger publicly traded companies and how do we spread out the wealth. Yeah, I have learned that there isn't my perception of corporate America and franchises isn't necessarily what it was, or wasn't necessarily accurate. And I think that the reason why you see so many of these corporate places in new developments is because of the relationships. Because let's be honest, if you're going to rapidly scale and you're in the real estate, like every time you're finding a new project, do you really want to go out and establish relationships with the people in those communities? When you have these established relationships with the Kavas of the world, the Starbucks of the world, like you're just gonna go back to your greatest hits and say like these are on fire brands, right? And like, does this market overlap with your brand strategy? And if it does, and you have an existing relationship, boom, it's lubrication. Yep. So is that kind of like what you were doing, where you had these, you had the established relationships with the tenants, and then you were kind of playing matchmaker with tenant and real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. So you know what the tenant wants, you know what the tenant needs, and you know in the time frame that they need it. And what they don't need is the headache. That's that delta, that headache delta. They want to open with an assurity and a time frame that they can depend on. So if you can supply that to your client, then they'll work with you.
Okay. What's the delta? You're using words I'm not fully committed. Or
the gap between.
Just say that line over again. I want to make sure I understand.
Yeah. So that they want to the delta that gap or whatever that's in the middle is the unknown of when the store's going to be delivered. Right. They want a surety of when it's going to be delivered. And you can go into that with operations and openings and store counts and get right on down to
because they want to
sales
start turning
weeks.
Revenue in that space.
Yeah, they're losing money every day that they're not open. So if you can tell them with a surety of when that's going to be open, they have that assurity, and so they're most likely to work with you, rather than if it's a one-off, a guy that's just kind of building a center, really doesn't know what he's doing, and hey, I'm going to deliver this in May or maybe August, or it might happen Q1 of next year, which you see a lot of that still in the development business.
So in your story, N3 was born out of you seeing this opportunity to basically go and to speed up this process. What you were doing for Starbucks, you wanted to replicate and do for multiple clients. Yeah, go out and do it. Yeah, create a system, create a pipeline, create a widget factor, if you will. And you were doing this nationwide?
I wouldn't say nationwide. I mean, we started in, Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas. Okay. Kind of more local.
And you brought your dad into this as well, right?
Yeah. So it was me. It wasn't all my idea, right? I had a partner. Yeah. And my dad was a banker. Okay. He was a finance guy. And again, you bring people in that you don't, actually we had 4 partners that started that, 2 finance guys and 2 real estate guys. The financing side of real estate development is tricky. The capital stack that you have to have, the equity, the hard money that goes into it, the bank debt that you have to get. It becomes a very
What's a
complicated.
capital stack? Is that all the things you just listed off?
Yeah, it can be. So a capital stack is going to be debt and equity, and then how that gets cut up is the stack. So you can have junior debt, junior equity, senior equity, and they get paid in different ways.
Okay.
The cleanest way to do it is to have your own equity and just one bank loan. But when you're first starting out, you may have to go get a couple different equity partners.
Got it.
And so that they're going to fit in that stack in different ways.
So what happened between N3 and Main on Main? Like what was, because N3 was kind of short-lived, 3 years?
It was, yeah.
So was Main and Main like the second rendition?
It was.
What did you learn to stop and start over?
Yeah, it was. So it was a different envision from the partners that we had. I had a great partner, really good guy. He had really grand and huge vision to go and be just this behemoth of a company. And I was more, hey, I just want to be kind of this mid-sized company. I don't want to have 200 employees and do all this kind of stuff. And so,
what changed between that and now?
Well, development in restaurants are very different. I guess I got older and wiser and actually knew how to run a company. I was probably a little scared back then.
Yeah.
I was young. I was really young.
Well, I think you're also touching on a really important thing that's a universal entrepreneurial lesson is, do you have the same vision as your partners?
Yeah, yeah.
And is that vision from day one what it is on day, 3 years in, like day 1,000?
Yeah. So I tell my kids this. I've got a son and a daughter, and but my son's very entrepreneurial, and I've always told him this. The hardest part of being a business owner is partners. That's it. It's
why I love talking about partnerships.
Partners are it's the most difficult thing. I mean, I'm lucky in Layne's. I have unbelievable partners. You met Matt before the podcast started, and then my brother. Obviously, if you can work well with family, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
If you can't, it's the worst thing ever.
Right.
It's not just, hey, it's okay working with family. No, it's either fantastic or it's absolutely terrible. I've never heard, it's okay.
Yeah. And I kind of lean in that direction of like, I would love to work with family, and I think that if you look at the characteristics you need to have in a business partner, same culture, same values, right?
Yeah.
You were literally like raised in the same home.
Absolutely.
You have the same values. I think nature plays this weird thing when you're like, if you're having multiple kids, they tend to complement each other. You nailed it. Nailed it. And I think that's like a tribal thing. Like I think if we were trying to survive 10,000 years ago, like if we had children, it made our odds of survival better. All those different children bring something special to the tribe, And I think that's how we should look at business is like, it's a tribe.
Oh, so, yeah. My brother and I, it's astonishing. I think my mom raised us this way from back when we used to do Kool-Aid stands to all the little businesses that we did. I think over all those years, we just kind of knew who did what, and you just kind of create and form that piece.
And trust.
And trust, absolute trust.
Like you had that level of communication and trust where you can kind of just look at your partner, your brother, your sister, and you know exactly if this is going well or not.
Yeah.
You
can feel it. You can feel it.
That takes years to develop in a business partner.
Yeah.
You have this baked in.
Yeah. It's an incredible advantage. And with Matt, I call him my brother. People always say, are you guys brothers? And I think it's over the years and years and years of us working together. It's just like, we actually function more like a family.
I found people that give you the business advice never go into business with family, have shitty families.
Probably so.
And I hate to say that, but
I love working with family. I love working with family. And when we first started out, I mean, my dad sat me and my business partner down and he's like, you guys don't know what you're doing. Like, you absolutely don't know what you're doing. Like, I'll help you out.
That's the other thing you get from family is candidness.
Yeah. You're just like, I mean, you can close the door and yell and scream at your family.
Right.
And you're going to leave and it's going to be okay at some point because you've yelled at, I mean, my brother and I have been in fist fights, right? I mean, I've beat the holy hell out of him and he's beat the holy hell out of me and we still love each other, right?
Right.
With the business partner, it might get, non-family might be a little, there may be some bruised egos.
So you see with N3 that there's different vision and you're starting to part ways. And when you create Main on Main Capital with your brother and your dad, like what's the new shared vision? What are you guys trying to do?
We wanted to truly just be the vision at the time was to go and be a different type of real estate developer. Our goal was to find, so my brother and I are very good. We worked in-house. My brother worked in-house for Chili's and Payless Shoes and some other places like that. And the idea was we understand how to market plan and site select, right? That was our strength. The development part, anybody could develop, but who can go in and look at a market and tell you where you need to be and where you can be successful? And so we started targeting smaller groups at the time, right? So you're a small up-and-coming a business. Let us go in and help you. You may not have a real estate department. Let us go in and help you create a plan, an executable plan. And we would basically sell that service to them and then be able to build on top of that service. So that's kind of the idea. We're just going to go in, be the scrappy little smaller company, not have that big of worries, not have a ton of overhead, and just kind of take it from there.
Okay. So in this organization, what was your specific lane going to be? What was it? What
my lane was going to be? I mean, in the early days, there was just three of us. I mean, your lane was, well,
no,
there was four of us. Yeah, you wear a lot of hats. So it was, really relationship development, going out and meeting people, selling the dream, selling the vision. Hey, here's what we're trying to do. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. And that was kind of my role. And then go and negotiating contracts, things like that.
Okay. I feel like we've covered what we're about to get into is a lot of what you've already been doing up to this point, right?
Yeah.
So were there any points of evolution, any challenges for you in your time where your core focus was Main and Main? Like, how did you improve as an individual? Like, what were the things that you picked up during this time between 2004 and 2018 that set you up for success with Layne's?
I don't know if there was like an aha moment or anything in there. Real estate's so redundant. I don't think I had the aha moments or the growth moments or anything like that until I got in the restaurant business.
Okay.
I really feel like it was kind of that repetitive.
Well, we are 50 minutes into this conversation. We might as well get to the point.
Yeah.
Now you know why the podcast is 2 hours long.
I love it.
I think there's something to be said. And I'm so happy that it's 2 hours long because people are formed into the person they need to become to be just beginning to have the possibility of being successful in this industry. And so much of that forming happens before you ever open the restaurant, which is why I love going deep into how did you get to this point? Like what skills, what makes you special to be somebody who's thriving in this industry. And we get into that when we go into the background.
I think maybe the one thing I learned as a real estate developer is, and I think this applied when we first started the restaurant, is no matter how bad things get, no matter how difficult they are, like it might seem like it's the end, right? In real estate, you could have everybody on city council tell you no. You could have a building inspector shoot you. I mean, you can get into some really deep pits, like where you feel like it's going to crush you. And if you climb out of that and you keep that fight going, I think I did bring that over to me in the restaurant business, because the restaurant business is crushing. It is tough, especially when your franchisees have an easier time because the road has been mapped.
Yeah.
You have a path and you know exactly what to do. But what we did was we weren't a franchisee. We basically took an old brand and a mom and pop brand and created a brand out of it. And that was a tough road.
So I think now, like, you set us up well to transition to the story of Layne. So started it in 1994.
Correct.
Was it Mike? Was the original?
Mike Layne? Yep.
Mike Layne.
Yep.
Was the original founder. How long was Layne's going before somebody else got involved?
It was probably within that first year. Another guy named, this is where I think it's kind of ironic.
You do like the 30,000 foot, 500 mile an hour, like zoom to 2018 backstory of Layne's.
Mike Layne started it, hired a guy named Mike Garrett.
Okay. Coincidentally.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's weird. Mike Garrett ended up buying Mike Layne out sometime in that first 3 years.
Okay.
And Mike ran it up until 2017 when Matt and I approached him and wanted to buy the concept.
So you and who approached him?
Matt.
And Matt is your current business
Matt
partner.
O'Reilly. Yeah.
And Matt O'Reilly, what's his backstory? What was he doing?
He was a private equity guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he was private equity. We had met years and years before. Really weren't business associates, just became fast friends. We just got along. He was in the private equity world. I was in the real estate world.
What was his core focus in private equity? Restaurants or?
No, I don't. I mean, it didn't have anything to do with restaurants.
So you guys
just businesses.
Okay.
They would buy businesses, whatever private
So
equity
you're
guys
finding
do.
locations for businesses to go to, and he's looking for businesses to invest in. Your worlds collide.
Yeah, we had nothing in common, no cross, no. I mean, our worlds were completely separate.
Now, was Layne Chicken only ever one location in College Station?
Well, it started out as one. When we bought it, there were 3.
And where were those 3 locations?
All in College Station.
All in College Station.
Yeah, all in College Station.
What was it? Whose idea was it to look at Layne's Chicken?
It was my idea.
What was it about Layne's Chicken that appealed to you?
Well, I loved the food. I grew up in the town, so my hometown, like it was kind of sentimental to me. But every time I would go back home to a football game or to go visit friends, I was going to Layne's. I'd always eat there. Mike and I actually went to school together, so we knew each other.
You went to Northern Texas University?
I graduated from North Texas. I grew up in College Station, where Texas A&M
Your
is.
brother and your father?
Yeah, they're
both
all
alumni.
Aggies. Yeah, of Texas A&M. Yeah,
Got
I'm not smart enough to graduate. So, yeah, I went to the other university.
Different type of intelligence, social, emotional.
Different
There's something to be said about that.
Yeah. So would always go back, eat the food, and it was always that question in my mind. You know, you look at Raising Cane's, for example, started 2 years after Layne started.
I was curious about that.
Yeah, so they started in '96. They didn't open up until 1996.
Did Georgia University play Texas A&M in sports or something?
The story is that LSU played Texas A&M, and there was some cross there. I wasn't there, so I like to tell the story, but I know that it's kind of that game of telephone.
Todd Graves he graduated from Georgia. His business partner took a business plan to LSU, and it was born out of LSU.
Right.
But I'm curious, like, was there like a source of inspiration? Because those are 2 schools that play each other, and
right.
It's not, what is that? Maybe a couple 100 miles? Like,
well,
Louisiana?
they were they played each other back then. I guess Southwest Conference. I think they were all in the Southwest Conference back then.
I haven't spoken to Todd Graves. I'm like 2 or 3 points removed from Todd Graves. I would love to get him on the show to hear that story. But I'd be curious if there is any inspiration there.
Well, so Mike Layne was from Georgia.
Okay.
Todd Graves is from Georgia.
Okay.
They both come from the same place.
Okay.
Never met Todd Graves, and I've never met Mike Layne. So
okay.
I could tell you all the rumors and all the different stories, but I know we started 2 years before they did.
Yeah, 1994, Mike started it. They scaled to 3 locations. In 2018, you purchased Layne's from Mike Garrett.
Correct.
And one thing that didn't come out of the story, like before you found Layne's, like what came first, Layne's or the idea? Like in terms of like, what was going on in your world where you want to buy a restaurant?
Right, exactly.
Like, when did that happen?
That's actually the great question. So I had built so many restaurants for so many different people over the years, and the grass is always greener, right? I would build the restaurant, and I would make my little bit of money, and then I would keep up with these restaurateurs, and the successful ones would go make money and money and money. And I'm like, how hard
I could do that?
Let's run a restaurant,
It
right?
would be fun opening a restaurant.
Yeah, let's just throw some burgers on the grill, maybe serve a beer. How hard could this
How many
be?
people have said that?
Yeah. Oh no, I did. This can't be that hard, right? So, actually, I got with Matt, and I was like, the original idea was to be a franchisee of a concept. I said, hey, you've made a lot of money. I've made a lot of money. Restaurants are the easiest thing in the world. Let's go become a franchisee, and we'll open up hundreds of restaurants, and we'll ride off in the sunset. Well, if you don't have any restaurant background, it's very hard to become a franchisee. Mm-hmm. And we talked to a couple different concepts, and there's a lot of things I didn't like.
What were the concepts that you really gravitated towards?
They were all fast food, and we wanted to be in chicken. We
Okay.
knew that because we had kind of done a little research, and we felt like that chicken was the up and coming protein. Kind of burgers might have been played out, so it was like we were looking in the chicken space.
When did you start your search? Like 2017? How long was this?
No, it was probably like in 16. We started serious talks with Mike.
2-year period of you looking.
Yeah, we started serious talks with Mike in 17.
Did you I mean, this might be where it gets weird and I start asking questions.
No.
Did you like look into Cane's as a franchisee?
They don't franchise.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they don't have any franchises. They're all corporate. So you got to go to the KFCs, the the
Chick-fil-A,
the Popeyes of the world. Well, Chick-fil-A is kind of in the same bucket.
Yeah.
You got to go and do time. We wanted something we could just buy, get a territory, build, and develop. Weird process. I mean, we didn't spend a lot of time on it. We did kind of some real high level research. Talked on the phone with a couple different people, and I don't remember how it happened, but it was. Hey, I know Mike. Layne's has got fantastic food. It's really cool. Like
brand.
Why don't we go and ask Mike if we can be franchisees of Layne's? Right. That was the first conversation. So we called him up and said, "Hey, Mike, we want to be franchisee." And he laughed at us. He's like, no.
Why?
He's like, I don't have the expertise. I know how to run my restaurants. I can't become a franchisor. Like, what would you be buying from me? What would I tell you? What would I teach you? Mike's a great man, super simple. He's like, I like what I'm doing. So we got shot down. This goes back to my real estate days, right? I don't take
no. Isn't the that's the first?
No, answer. Now I've really decided that I want this, right? So Matt and I go back up there again. We're eating the food. We're like, God, this is so great. Why don't you have 1,000 locations? You're doing the sales job. You should be a billionaire. You should be McDonald's. And Mike, not interested.
How were the per unit economics of Layne's?
Back then, I want to say, back in 17, he probably did $1.6 million, $1.7 million a unit, maybe something like that.
Which I mean,
$1.5 million, maybe. I don't
low overhead.
Remember.
I'm assuming. I mean, how much has the menu changed since you guys got involved?
We've added some sauces, milkshakes, and wraps.
But essentially, chicken finger meals.
Yeah, same thing.
And sandwiches.
Yeah.
So
nothing's.
There's a reason why it's a winning model. There's a reason
super
why
simple.
Chick-fil-A is what it is, Cane's is what it is, and all these concepts.
In and out.
Scale.
Yeah. They're super simple. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Layne, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Layne and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
So he knows that he has no expertise. He knows the amount of work that goes into developing a franchise, and for him, It wasn't worth the lift.
Right, and we're coming in with the arrogant attitude of, we can be restaurant guys. This is a guy that's been doing it for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And he's looking at us idiots going, guys, no, you don't want any part of this. We're like, yeah, look how much money you make. We want to be a part of this.
Well,
no.
There is, it's a personal question, and it's not relative to you, so I want to ask it. But there's one other thing that I think is worth bringing to the surface here. Mm-hmm. You had an emotional, like, connection to this.
Yes.
You grew up in this town.
Yep.
You grew up eating it.
Yep.
Your brother and your dad are alumni of this. There's something
it's my hometown.
here, and I think that that's a part of the equation that has to exist to really take something, and like you have to have a love, a personal connection, and nostalgia to it, and that was there. I think that's really cool, and I love that when I picked up on that. So what did you say to Mike, the original founder, and Mike Garrett, or the original?
We call him the founder. Yeah. He's the one that made the brand what it is. Yeah.
So what eventually got him to say yes?
Well, so then we went back to him and said, let us buy it. And he's like, oh gosh, no, I don't want to sell it.
How much time elapsed from asking to be franchised?
We're weeks.
Okay.
Like we're not letting any grass grow on our feet. I had already decided I was going to have this brand.
Okay.
Like, I wanted this. This was what I was going to do.
Got it.
So we went back, proposed that to him. He's like, no, I love what I do. And I just actually watched the movie on a flight, founder, the Ray Kroc story.
Yeah.
And
Some common
yeah,
parallels
I
here.
literally just watched it, and I was like, you know what? Ray Kroc really did the McDonald's brothers wrong, and so I was like, hey, Mike, here's what we're going to do. We want to buy it. You operate your restaurants. We'll give you protected territory. We won't ever mess with you or anything, but sell us the brand, sell us the trademark, sell us the recipes, sell us everything. You operate what you do, and then I'm going to leave you in it. And if we're successful, you're going to be tremendously successful.
What about royalties and anything like that?
He's just a partner.
Got it.
Yeah. So you're going to be a partner with us. If we go and make this what I believe we can make this, then you benefit. If we don't, you still have your 3 restaurants. You said you never want to grow and expand. And so he decided that would be okay.
This is, being someone's kind of like exit strategy is another way to look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I think there's a lot of people who I've come across who are probably listening to this, who are in love with a brand, who would love to do what you're talking about. How do you approach that relationship? How do you approach a founder? How do you approach a brand? And how do you set that up in a way that looks fair? Like, what does that look like on paper?
Yeah, I think every situation is unique, right? So I think a lot of people, especially in the restaurant lane today, really have the idea of growing, and they usually have an exit strategy in mind. We were really fortunate in the fact that Mike didn't really have an exit strategy. He was just a guy that sold chicken fingers and really loved what he did. And so I don't think he had told us, I've been approached every single month for the last 20 years by some Texas A&M alumni, sell me this, sell me this, sell me this. He just, it's not what he wanted to do. He just wanted to sell chicken fingers.
Yeah.
So I don't think I can give a lot of advice when it comes to that because my situation was so unique. If you can find somebody that owns a couple restaurants and they don't want to grow at all and they really don't care, then yeah, we were just in the right place at the right time with the right sales pitch.
Yeah.
We got lucky.
But I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity. I don't know if you know the name, Cody Sanchez. She's actually based out of Austin, and she is all about, her whole thing is Main Street Millionaires, like her tagline, right? And she strongly advises against purchasing restaurants because they're not like profitable.
I do too.
Right. But her whole thing is like go into like buy like laundromats and like plumbing services and like the Main Street companies that are like core to society, like operating. There are people who are generational, like they built great businesses and the next generation doesn't necessarily want to take over. So there's so much opportunity, but the rules still apply. And if you are one of the few people who are crazy enough to get into the restaurant industry and like you're meant for it and it's your passion and you love it, there is so much opportunity out there right now. Instead of building a restaurant from scratch, go to a legacy brand and inject new life, new perspective, new systems, new technology into that brand and bring it back to life, new energy. Like I think that is such a good business approach today because there's so many people, boomers, about to retire.
Yeah. There's tons of them everywhere. Yeah.
And they need an exit. A lot of them, their exit strategy is die.
Yeah. And hopefully their kids do something with it, right?
So like you're creating a win-win situation where you can go in, you can take a business that's profitable, that has tons of room for growth if you're willing to go. Like in the past 10 years, the restaurant industry in terms of like efficiencies and technology and like marketing has evolved so much and it's hard to keep up if you're an older person. Like you can be of value to this family. Anyway, I digress. I just think what you did is a very smart.
It's hard for me to keep up, and I'm 51 years old. I mean,
I'm 39 and it's hard for me to keep up.
The kids that we hire, that are doing the social media and all that.
My job is keeping up, and I struggle keeping up.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So anyway, eventually, what was like the straw that broke the camel's back, or got him to say, okay, let's do it?
I think it was twofold. One, it was painting the vision of where we wanted to take it and explaining to him where his risk was in that. And when he realized that there really wasn't much risk, but there was a lot of upside. But I think it also was my passion for the brand. I think at the end of the day, he really knew that I loved this brand, and I wasn't just somebody coming in and saying, I want to go make a bunch. I wanted to make Layne's something special. It was something special. I wanted to make it big and special.
Yeah.
Like I saw the true potential in it. And so I think when we sat down and had those personal conversations, I think he felt confident that he could hand the baton to me and that I wouldn't do anything with his brand that would be, it's his baby, right? So you're sending your kid off with somebody else.
Right.
And he didn't want the brand to get bastardized. He didn't want the brand to get harmed.
Right.
And I think I had the ability to assure him that I would keep in the spirit of what Layne's always had been. And so I think that's when he got comfortable, and he's like, let's do it.
So when was the paperwork signed? When did you get?
I think it was 2017. I don't remember the exact date.
Okay.
But it was
summer, fall,
early in 2017.
spring 2017.
Yeah, somewhere
late
in
winter.
there. Yeah, something like that.
And when did you have your first brick and mortar operation that you were running open?
2018. It was the day before the Super Bowl, or day of
So
Super
about a year
Bowl.
after.
Yeah, about a year after.
In that first year, from convincing Mike to give you his blessing, to get the intellectual property to start franchising,
Right.
what were your biggest hurdles in that first year? Biggest challenges?
Oh gosh, this is only 2 hours.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'll go longer.
Yeah. So
We got 3 hours of recording time.
Remember, we took a concept that had no POS, no drive-through technology, no the menu, the recipes that we bought were written down on a piece of paper. There was no structure whatsoever. He made good chicken fingers. He had great employees.
He was the structure.
He was
the definition of a people-operated.
He was the ultimate mom and pop business.
Yeah.
He knew, and he had started it from when he was a kid, as a manager with the original Mike, and just had everything he had ever learned. He had learned from burning himself on the grill or whatever. I mean, those were the hard knocks. So gosh, the pitfalls were enormous. So I had no idea what I was getting into. None whatsoever. So, we set out. Matt and I's goal was that we were going to open up. Originally, it was 5 restaurants in 1 year.
In that first year?
That was the goal.
Okay.
Right.
What was the
exactly.
reality?
So we ended up opening 3.
In between
2018 and so in 2018 we opened up 3 restaurants.
Okay, but that first year
Brick
was
and
just
mortars.
getting the.
It was getting supply chain organized, getting because Mike was just buying his chicken from whichever vendor would come in there. Our goal was to ultimately create a franchisable concept.
You had to reverse engineer what makes
Exactly.
lanes, and how do we create systems around
Right. So
this?
when Matt and I first went into this, we went into it with the mindset of we want to be able to create something that we can sell to somebody else and they can do with ease.
Where did you go to learn how to do this?
Well, we hired a lot of different people that were in the restaurant business. We hired some that were the right people in the beginning and some that weren't. We hired some fine dining guys. We hired some chefs. In the end of the day, I found that the people that gave me the best advice and that gave me the lasting pieces that have actually made Layne's what it was today were fast food guys.
So what made it the best advice?
What was the best advice?
So you said the people that gave you the best advice were fast food guys. I mean, that's what you're trying to create.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
not being
totally.
a restaurant guy, I didn't understand the difference between fine dining, casual dining, quick service. To me, it's all
Right.
restaurants, right?
Right.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Well, there's
A ton.
chasm of difference.
Right.
I mean, it's not even close between a fine dining and a
So why was your instinct to go to fine dining when you knew what Layne's was?
I didn't know what Layne's was. I knew it was good food,
Okay.
right?
But when Layne's, before you ever got involved, it was counter service chicken fingers.
Yeah, pulling the drive-through.
Where were the fine dining guys like missing the mark? Like, why were they swinging and missing? What didn't feel right?
Well, it was all the way from FF&E that was ordered and built and created to the way that that things were inventoried, the way that all this kinds of stuff, the lack of processes and systems that you absolutely need when you have 16-year-olds running your restaurants, right? They had a vision of where they'd have a chef and a sous chef, and there was these professional people back there that knew how to run a kitchen, where in the fast food restaurant industry, you don't have that. You need somebody that understands how to push a button, how to drop things, how to plate things, and stick them out the window.
Right.
Right. So you don't have those guys. So if you don't have the systems in place that they can do that with complete ease, there doesn't need to be any thinking at all involved. That's,
So eventually you went to QSR guys.
Eventually I went to QSR guys. Yes.
Can you say who these guys were that you went to, or gals?
I mean, they're just, I don't want to say, but yeah, just.
Were they operators? Or
Yeah, they were just
consultants?
operators of, no, these were actually operators where I got my best advice. So Let me back up 2 steps. Okay.
Okay.
So we went out, we created all of our plans, all our systems and everything. We're going to open up these 3 stores. We're going to open up 90 days apart. That was a mistake as well. Again, restaurant business is easy. We're going to open 90 days apart. We're going to stress test what we think we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. And then we're going to go and become a franchisor.
Okay.
That was the goal. So we get in there, huge sales. I mean, the popularity of the brand is off the charts, right? Lines around the building,
What
lines
is
down the
huge sales?
streets.
Can you share numbers? First few years?
Back then, we thought we'd probably do $1.2 million, $1.3 million, something like that. We're doing $1.8 million, $1.9 million, stuff like that.
So close to 2 million per unit.
Yeah, and not knowing what we're doing, and not handling it correctly.
Well, I was going to say, what about profitability? What were your?
We weren't.
Were you making money, or were you?
No.
Yeah. So.
Didn't understand what prime cost was. Didn't understand how to run labor. Didn't understand how to run inventory. Any of these kinds of things.
And none of this happened. So this was between the first 2 years. You went from getting the blessing to reverse engineering into how to actually build this into something that could have legs. And then it was a year of executing and having volume, but not really understanding how to make money.
What? Yeah, what's it was the whole. I mean. And building it was, getting with, Brink Par, creating a POS system. I mean, it was a lot of work.
So you guys are going with Partech?
We don't anymore, but that's what we originally did. Because that's fine dining guys are with me, right? This is what we need. Well, actually, we need the most simple POS system you can have, right?
Okay.
You don't need this complicated
We'll
system.
get into tech stack where you are today and where you landed.
Yeah, and that'll be my weakest part, but yeah.
Okay.
So we went through all that, and the sales were there. The popularity of the brand was there, the quality was there, and all that was there, but it just wasn't right. And so, and I didn't know what was wrong. So I started listening to a lot of these general managers and AGMs that I'd hired that had been in the fast food restaurant their whole lives.
Right.
And I'd sit and meet. We'd have meetings, and they'd be like, "Well, why aren't we doing this and this?" And at first, you're like, "No. My guys,
I'm the boss. You're the employee.
These guys,
stay in your lane."
I got these high-paid consultants over here that are telling me what to do. And the more and more I listen to them, I'm like, these guys get it, right?
Yeah.
These are the guys that know what they're doing. And so we quickly pivoted over to letting them come in and run the show. And then once that happened, all of a sudden, inventory controls were there. The labor was correct, and now your prime cost starts dipping down, into the right numbers, and now all of a sudden you're extremely profitable, right? Like, wow.
Were you profitable out of the gates?
We had great sales, but no, we weren't profitable out of.
Were you in the black?
No, I don't think so. We were probably
When did
in the
you
red
get
a
into
couple
the
years.
black?
I don't remember exactly. It took us a couple months.
I mean, I think this is a unique story too, because reading between the lines, you had made your money.
Right.
You were successful, and you had people ask me, Eric, when are you going to open a restaurant? Two variables. One, when I can get help with Restaurant Unstoppable podcast, where it's not me and Jared, doing everything. I can build a team.
Yeah.
And two, when I have a couple $1 million, I'm willing to burn. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. You have to be willing to burn money.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that you and your partner had created a situation for yourself where profitability wasn't the goal out of the gates. It was but you were more you had a long runway.
Yes. But let's say profitability was an assumption.
Okay.
Right? I don't even think that it came into. Remember, we're not restaurant guys, so we just assume that restaurants make a lot of money, right? So the goal was to create a franchisable concept.
Okay.
The profitability of the restaurant, I don't think it ever
that
crossed
was
our
happen,
mind. Yeah,
right?
it's just we're gonna sell. Look at the sales. How can we not? Like you talked about with your parents, right? They had a restaurant. There's people coming in and out. Like the lobby's full. The drive-thru's wrapped around. How are we not making money hand over fist, right?
So by 2019, the fall of 2019, where are you guys? You're still at 3 locations?
We've got the 3 in College Station. We've got the 3 here in Dallas.
So you got 6 locations by 2019.
6 locations 2019. We've kind of figured out what we're doing wrong. There were some changes we needed to make. We kind of exercised those. We've gotten to where the system's working correctly, and we're going to open up another corporate unit, and we're going to test another stress test to see one more time if we can actually become a franchisor, right?
Okay.
So that's what's happened in 19.
All in 6 locations, 3 are the original and 3 back here.
3 back here, yeah.
And Mike, is he still a part of the company at this point?
Yeah, he's still running the restaurants in College Station. Yeah, he's still doing his thing. He's coming up here consulting with us. We're all collaborating, trying to figure out, where we're at. Are we on the right track?
So you opened 3 more locations.
We opened 3 more locations.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then what was like the big, like, I like to think of like shifting gears, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first gear was getting Mike to let you have his blessing. The second gear was getting open after reverse engineering and figuring out, okay, how do we franchise what is Layne? Like, how do we put that into a franchise model? Right. What was the second gear or the third gear? When would you say you got to the third gear?
Well, I mean, I think the third gear, if it was putting into a franchise model, then I think it was testing that model to see if what our assumptions were. Because remember, we had all these assumptions before.
Right.
And we were wrong. So now we've changed everything. We
get humbled a little bit.
Right. We think we're right now, right?
And this is the 4th location that you've opened to really stress test?
This is the 4th location.
Okay.
So throw a wrench in the system when we're opening our 4th location. We have a guy from Houston, an Aggie graduate that runs another brand, and he comes in and says, I want to be your franchisee.
Another QSR brand?
Fast casual brand,
okay.
Yeah. He owns Halal Guys.
Okay.
Yeah. So good operator, ran multiple units, very successful guy. He's an Aggie graduate, loves the brand, somehow heard that we had opened up here, and he wants to be a franchisee. Okay. He's a lot like me, does not take no for an answer.
Got it.
I'm going to do it. I want to do it. So we decide, okay, we'll have one franchisee, not really the timeline we expected. We're going to let you, at the same time we open kind of this last corporate concept, we'll let you kind of watch us how we're doing this and do it. The restaurant business and the franchising business are in no way the same business.
Okay, what's different?
The restaurant business, your customer is the person that walks in the door. In the franchising business, your customer is your franchisee.
Got it.
You are a consultant. You are no longer in the restaurant business. Your job is to make sure that they're successful. Yeah. Your job is to protect your brand and to protect that franchisee that has entrusted you with their dollars.
Yeah, I think that mindset applies to the restaurant industry too, but I think it's the people that understand that their core customer is their employee. We're here. We are in the business of making food. Yep. We're in the business of creating experiences, but the people who truly get it, we're in the business of developing people.
I agree with you. Yeah. And so we're in the business at our level now of developing franchisees.
Yeah.
So those are the people we're developing.
Yeah.
So we get just a little ways into this, and Matt and I have the scars on our back from before, and immediately we say, we're not going to do this again. Like, we're not going to learn this lesson the hard way.
This being bringing another franchisee?
Just getting into a new business.
Okay.
Like we went into the restaurant business, and we learned the restaurant business by becoming restaurateurs,
right,
and getting out there and doing that. We were about to get into the franchising business, and I didn't want to take 4 years and failure and hardships and everything.
But the goal was always the franchise.
It always was franchise, but I didn't understand the difference between the two businesses.
Got it. So you had to learn to become a restaurant owner before you became a franchise.
Before I became a franchisee.
I should say.
So now I'm communicating back and forth with our new franchisee, and I'm realizing that I'm not being able to deliver what I would want as a franchisee in terms of answers, in terms of
support.
It didn't feel right. So we immediately said, we're going to go bring in somebody. And you met Samir. He's our chief operating officer, and he had been with Muya, Fuzzy's Tacos. I mean, he was a seasoned veteran. He had been around the block.
Was he up in Oklahoma City?
No, he's always been here in Dallas.
Fuzzy Tacos. I think
he was in-house.
So I had Brian Bogert on the show, and they were, I think, Social Order out of Oklahoma City. Anyway, I was wondering if there's a connection. Sorry.
There may be if you asked him.
So you bring in.
So I bring in Samir, and it's funny. He sat us down and he said, I have a job. I've got a great job. You guys run 6 restaurants.
How do you find him?
We found him through a friend of Matt's. We were just asking around, like, who's the guy? We're talking different restaurant people.
What was his title at this point? Was he a CFO then?
I don't remember what his title was. Not CFO, maybe COO or so.
Okay.
He was kind of
Fuzzy Tacos and
and Muya and those brands. I really don't know what his title was, but he took both of those brands when they were very young brands and grew them to over 100 locations. He was part of that group that did that.
Got it.
That's exactly what I need, right? I'm a tiny brand. I want to get to 100. He did tiny brands and franchise. He fit the mold exactly.
And it was this Texas A&M, this Aggie guy who said that encouraged you to go to Samir.
No, he was our original franchisee.
Okay.
He had a belief in the brand and he saw the stores we ran. Your stores run fantastic. Your product's great. I want to be a part of the system.
Got it.
We just weren't comfortable that we could support him the way we wanted to. We needed to bring in somebody that had 25 plus years in the chair of being the franchisor.
Got it.
And so we brought Samir in 2020 and completely changed the company. I mean, completely changed the company.
When in 2020?
I'm terrible with dates.
Was it
early? It was
so
very early in
before the
2020.
pandemic or after?
Oh, before.
Okay, so like the first quarter.
Yeah. It was right before all hell broke loose and things went really, really bad. So he was perfect timing to bring him on, right? We had a captain over the ship that had seen it all, except for obviously COVID, and had navigated through some really choppy waters. I mean, we have been so lucky at so many turns, but bringing Samir on when we did was one of the luckiest things we've ever done. I mean, it was unbelievably lucky that he came on when he did.
I think you were in the room. I might have been talking to your business partner, Mike, when I was talking, or sorry, Matt, when I was talking about who I spoke with before. I was like, hey, I just had Mark C. Winters on the show. Mm-hmm. And Mark C. Winters is the author of Rocket Fuel.
Okay.
And what Rocket Fuel is it's the combination of CEO, visionary, and like the operations, what they call the integrator, the person who's good in the mud. If you're good in the clouds, you need somebody who's good in the muds. If you're a why guy, you need a how person.
That is
Samir. And that was the whole conversation, and something I believe in hugely. What made you know that you needed this? Was it gut, or like that this is your rocket fuel?
Right. I knew I needed it because I tried it on my own before. And I say my own, my team, right? I wanted somebody that had the scars. That knew the playbook, that wasn't just learning it, that wasn't inventing the wheel as they went along. They knew the terrain.
What does it take to find this person?
We got lucky. I mean, we got tremendously lucky. I mean, the true story is this: is one of Matt's CrossFit buddies, Michael Mayberry, has been a restaurant guy his whole life and been with a lot of really successful concepts. And Matt and I were having these conversations. We need somebody. I think they're after CrossFit, sitting there drinking their water or protein shake. I obviously don't do CrossFit, so I don't know what they do in there. And Michael turns to Matt and says, "I got your guy." He goes, "This is the guy. Don't even talk to anybody else. This is the guy."
Yeah.
He goes, "Hey, of everybody in the industry, this is the guy." And Matt comes to me and he goes, "Hey, I knew Michael. We had been out and had coffee and stuff, and." He said, Michael says this is the guy. And I'm like, let's set it up.
And he completely changes everything.
Yeah. I can't explain. It completely changes it.
We'll try to get into like the evolution, like before and after. So like 6 units. When did you go to your 7th and 8th unit? I'm curious about that.
2020.
Okay. What?
7
at the
and
end?
8. Again, I'm terrible at time frames, but probably sometime in the middle of 20.
So how much time did it take him to break it down and rebuild it?
We were fortunate because of COVID, so he had a lot of time. Like nobody was trying to do anything at that time.
Also a very COVID-friendly concept.
Yes, very. We sales went through the roof and all that. A better question to ask Samir how long it took him to break it down. A year.
Okay.
And it wasn't truly broken, but it just needed all these polishes on it, right? Like the way we were doing supply chain. Like he completely reinvented that, right? Now, the way that we were doing technology, the way that we were doing just everything. he went through and created that system and started bringing on the right people. And
Think Samir would want to be a guest on the show?
He would be a phenomenal guest. I mean, yeah.
Because I have questions, but maybe I should shelf these questions to talk to Samir.
No, if you want good answers, you talk to Samir. Like if you want a vision of things and a guy that got really lucky and was in the right place at the right time, you could talk to me.
So, give me an idea. Like if, how do I, if this is my research to go into the conversation, you said Samir helped you with supply chain, he helped you with technology. What were the big, when you got it to what it was to what it is today, how much evolution, I guess, has happened
from when I brought Samir on to today? Oh, it's completely, it's night and day. I mean, the very first thing Samir told us is, I want to hire Shaq, and she's head of our training department.
I thought you were talking about Shaquille.
I know. Yeah, that would have been great.
Wait, Big Chicken? Did he steal the concept?
Yeah. So, his first, couple weeks here, and he's like, okay, I need to bring. And luckily, we were the partners that were said, we want to write checks. What you just tell us what you need, and we will give it to you. So the first thing he said was, I have to build a training team, and I have to build a process in which I can teach somebody how to run this concept. So we were kind of still a little bit in that Mike days. We thought just having a manual and all these kinds of things was the right way to do it. And he's like, no, we need online learning systems. We need all this product and material that's truly detailed and the way you train a franchisee. So absolutely bring Shaq on. So he starts to build his team. So he starts to bring in these people and he starts to build this team. And, at first it's a slow slug. People are sitting in their offices, they're not really sure what they're doing, but and then all of a sudden you start to see this incremental change. Like, oh, wow, you start watching these Skooks videos and you start watching this stuff. And I start to get excited. I'm like, hey, I wish I had this when I would open the Allen store, right? I actually would have understood how to filter the fryers better. And I would have understand quality of oil life and all this kind of stuff and been able to communicate it better. So he came in and started doing that. He started to put together relationships with our French fries vendor, our mayonnaise vendor, our oil vendors, starting to create these
supply chain.
These easily repeated process. With the equipment, right? Henny Penny, our different fryers, our milkshake vendors, and all these kinds of things. He started to build this system that was exactly what my vision was all along. Somebody could walk in, say, I want to be in this territory. I want to buy this territory. I want to open up 20 restaurants. My real estate background, I knew I could find them the sites.
Yeah.
I knew I could help them get there. I knew I could tell them where to be. The piece I was missing was, how do we get them to be great operators?
Right.
So that was the Samir piece.
So I just had Charles Intercanola on the show. Fantastic conversation, actually. His episode just went live yesterday.
Okay.
And it's about, he is a franchise. He's a business lawyer, but he specializes in developing and helping people with franchises. And he said the three ways you make money in a franchise. I'm sure you know them. The first one is selling the franchise, right? The second one is royalty. And the third one is in basically the affiliate marketing associated with these relationships you have. Because as you're scaling, you're earning a commission on selling these technologies and these goods. So you have an affiliate relationship there. But he said the one that matters the most is the royalty. And the only way you can make real money, protect the franchisee.
Right.
Give them all the tools, the resources, and that translates into training.
Right.
It is giving them the how-to manual to be successful. And that rule applies to independent restaurants too. But instead of franchisee, employee.
Yeah.
It's so important to invest in training.
Right. So I think that third piece is I think, and I'm asking you a question now, is that supply chain? Like you make, you make money because you put together the chicken contract. And,
right. So you have the system, right? The machine that cranks out chicken fingers, and there's elements like a certain fryer-later. And if you're going to scale to 100 units in 5 years, how many fryer-laters are you going to sell?
Right.
So you can, I think, and maybe I misunderstood, but it's basically like you're becoming a sales representative of not just the intellectual property of the franchise, but the system, which means being essentially an affiliate marketer of these technologies.
Yeah, no, that is, you're right. Those are the three ways you make money. So I'll throw a curveball to you.
Please.
It's our core value as an ownership group. We will not make money in that third way.
The affiliate marketing? Okay.
all of our, whether it's chicken, Coca-Cola, fryers, anything, we have an agreement and understanding that we pass the cost directly through the franchisee. We don't mark up anything.
Okay.
So where in the majority of franchise groups, the franchisor will buy chicken for $1 a pound, let's say, and they negotiate the contract, they do all the work, they get it, the distribution out there, and you pay them $1.05, right?
Okay.
And so the franchisor makes 5 cents. We don't have that belief. We think it's hard enough to make money in the franchise, and we get our royalty, and we believe, this is our core belief, that our money should only be made on that royalty.
Yeah,
we pass that directly.
I'm a student, man. So like I have a lot to learn, especially in the world of franchising. I would love to talk to Charles about that. I wonder if you have to mark it up, or if there's a way you can find a partner that is willing, because you're going to buy 10,000 units, that it would be willing, because of that volume, you just get a cut of their commission, not the franchisee being marked up. But
you can. And it's very common in this industry. Yeah. I mean, you're right. That is a third leg of the revenue generator. It just happens to be that with this ownership group, let's say we go to Henny Penny, which we do, and we say we're going to buy 100 fryers this year. So the cost of a fryer is $1, but we're going to buy 100 of them. So you're going to sell them to us for 90 cents a fryer, right? You could get part of their commission or whatever, and you could sell it to the franchisees for $1. That's the market price. We have the belief that the franchisee should pay the 90 cents.
Got it.
And so our entire business is built on that we
Protecting
make money.
the franchisee.
That's right. We make money on that 5% royalty they pay us.
Got it.
That's the way we do our budget. There's nothing wrong with doing it any other way. That's just, we're a little bit different that way.
Got it. I mean, and I'm learning, like, full transparency. There's a reason why I identify as a student, and so I can ask intrusive questions and be like ignorant. There's bliss in that, to like, once you think you figured it all out, the game ends.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at Subway or some of these guys, I mean, they make just as much money selling them sandwich meat and bread and equipment and everything as they do in their royalties.
Right. Yeah. I think the core takeaway here is that what happened when Samir came on is that he built the training, he built the structure, the replicatable, like whether it be the training systems or the supply chain systems or the operations, like the actual technology. Like, he was massaging the relationships and getting oil put on all that, like lubrication, to make it go fast.
Exactly. Yeah. He took a semi nice turd and really polished it up to where it's like, okay, there's a diamond in there now. It's like, there's something in there.
So post 2020, so we're only now, like, let's say, like, what was the next gear for you guys? If this is gear 3, is getting Samir was gear 3, so you could polish the turd. Yep. What was the next step for you?
The next step was now to go out and actually have multiple franchisees, right? And so by this time, there's getting to be a little bit of buzz. Like, we're starting to get emails and calls. We want to be a franchisee.
What's this time? Can you timestamp this for me?
I'll say 2022.
Okay, so 3 years ago.
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
And you're still at 6 units, 7 units?
Yes, let's see, 6, 7, 8 units.
8 units. So you're still opening restaurants while you're still trying to figure out what the best SOPs are.
No, I mean, we had those 2 restaurants. I think we had all the SOPs and everything figured out.
Okay.
Yeah, but by the time Masroor opened up his first restaurant in Houston, he was our first franchisee. It was, again, we had a good system. Samir just made it so much better. Okay. So, I mean, it was that kind of learning process in there. But
so the first 4 years is really working on how to become a restaurant operator. You must be a restaurant before you become a franchise owner, right? So now that you built out these replicatable systems processes, from the actual how to make the chicken finger to how to train the staff to how to invest in and outfit a restaurant, you're building all these SOPs. Right. The next step is, how do we build the systems for scaling a franchise? Right. Yeah. And what did that look like? Where did you go for that? Was that still Samir leading the charge?
No, that was all Samir. Yeah.
Okay.
Had nothing to do with me.
Okay.
I used to just run around the restaurant.
Up to this point, what were your biggest personal challenges that you had to get over and evolve?
I think, personal challenges. I don't know about personal challenges. My biggest obstacle to overcome, and Samir had to help me do this, is I loved being in the restaurant so much, and I loved the kids that worked in the restaurant so much. I spent 90% of my time in the restaurants. Like that first year Samir came on, I hardly ever came in the office. I was in the restaurants when they opened. I was in the restaurants when they closed. I was hanging out with the kids. We were doing the restaurant business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was me. Samir now had come on board, and I was like, cool. There's somebody running this thing. I'm just going to go make chicken. I'm going to talk to guests that come in the window. I'm going to talk to guests that are in the lobby.
What was your intention?
I just loved my intention was just to be in there. I knew I had somebody that knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Right. And he had a vision. He understood what my vision was. He knew how to do it. And I just wanted to be, there's something about being in restaurants. There's something about being, there's just something about it. I just absolutely love it.
You have to tell me, man.
Yeah.
Everyone listening to this gets it.
Yeah. And so, I spent that time. And so he's like, hey, Garrett, it's time. We had this conversation more than once. I'm very stubborn. He's like, you got to get out of the restaurants. I'm like, no, I got to stay in the restaurants.
Where did he think your time was best spent?
In here being a leader.
What
right?
did that look like? Doing what is the 20% of things that you were going to do?
Yeah,
that
it was
have impact.
Well, he was starting to bring in new potential franchisees, right? And so he wanted them to hear the story from me.
Okay.
He wanted them to hear the vision from me.
Yeah.
Whenever he was meeting with vendors, what is the story? Where are we going? What are we trying to accomplish? And then being a business partner, right? Being a sounding board. Like, he was kind of flying blind because I was just out there having fun, making chicken, doing all this kinds of stuff, and probably not giving him the amount of time that he deserved. Let's sit down. Come on, be in the office a little bit more so we can kind of work off these things instead of over the phone. And so I learned to be a little bit better business partner.
You were working in the business, not on the business.
Correct.
But you weren't trapped in the business. You were choosing to be in the business because you enjoyed it, whereas the business needed you to be working on it to grow.
Correct. I was self-trapped in it.
Yeah.
I found a happy place that I felt like I could just kind of live in.
Yeah. And, huge fan of the book 10X is Easier Than 2X. Okay. Have you heard of it? Dr. Benjamin Hardy co-authored those books with Dan Sullivan, who's like the strategic something or other coach, international known coach consultant, but Dr. Hardy put the lessons of Dan Sullivan into books. And the idea of 10X is easier than 2X is that it's easier to actually 10X your business when you focus on what is the 20% of things that only I can do uniquely well.
Right.
And if you're the CEO of a company, if you're the dreamer, if you're the visionary, it's usually on culture and taking what your vision is, what your values are, and amplifying them to behind every great restaurant is a great person, and you have to basically replicate yourself in those executives, right? To create more of you, to lead, to show people. And it sounds like that's what your unique ability is.
And I hope so. I mean, I hope that's my ability. I think that's been the case. And Samir saw that and knew that.
And he needed it.
He needed it.
Yep.
He needed it desperately. We're bringing on new partners. I'm hiring new people in the office. We're starting to grow. We're starting to add headcount. And although he's an unbelievable restaurant guy and all these kinds of things, I think he just wanted somebody to see where the vision, like they need to hear it from you.
Right.
You need to spend time with these people. You've done your time in the trenches. You get it. We know you know how to cook food. We know you know how to motivate people at that level. Now, can you motivate people at this level? So he kind of pushed me into that role.
It is. Can you believe we've been almost at it for 2 hours?
Oh my gosh.
It's been an hour and 41 minutes of recording time. I had it blocked till 3:00 p.m. I want to make sure. Do you have to stop? Because I can keep going.
You tell me when
really
we got to stop.
Okay.
I literally thought we were talking an hour.
Isn't it? Hey man, there's a reason why it's a long form podcast.
Yeah.
So we can have when you're having a good conversation and it's organic, time flies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously there was so much of the Layne story we still have to tell. And the cool thing is in the timeline, we're only 3 years behind. Right. We got 3 years to cover.
Yep.
And a lot has happened. So you were at 6 or 7 locations in 2022?
Yeah, 8.
8 locations. Yeah. In the past 3 years, you have gone from 8 locations
to
25 locations.
Yeah.
So again, like you're doing a really great job taking us through the evolution, realizing that you need to have your rocket fuel, your operations person. You're the visionary. You need the integrator,
right?
For using EOS language,
right?
And then your integrator says, hey, we need you to be the visionary, not for the frontline staff, but for the entire organization.
Right.
What was the next? Now I think we're in 4th gear. What's 5th gear? This is going to be a 6 gear transmission. Yeah. So we have one more after this. I'm feeling maybe that's where we are today. But what has happened from 8 to 25?
So what was going on at that time was we were building, and this goes back to Matt and I's commitment to capitalize this business. We were hiring unbelievably overqualified people for running. During these last 3 years, let's say 10 stores, 12 stores, whatever franchises. We were building an enormous staff and training them and getting them immersed in the culture and being able to give them the tools they needed and get them ready for what we're into right now. So we like to laugh and joke. At one point, we had 20 corporate employees, and I think we had 12 stores.
20 corporate employees in 12 stores.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, wow.
So yeah, I mean, not a business that makes money or is in any way.
But you're building the house before you're moving it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so that's kudos to Matt. So Matt always said, let's not hire people when we need to hire them. Let's hire people a year to a year and a half out and get them ready for what we're going to do. So we do a lot of planning. Samir, Matt, and Eric and I, we sit down and we do a lot of planning, and we hire these people way out. I mean, we had a construction department that was fully capable of building ground up prototype construction before we even had a prototype.
Did you own the construction company? Was it vertical integrated or?
I brought one of my guys that was at the main side over to the Layne side. I brought the best guy we had.
Okay.
I'm like, hey.
So you're vertically integrating your other businesses into Layne's.
Yeah, I mean, he left the payroll and all of his responsibilities of that, and I put him on the Layne's team.
Got it.
And I took one of the admins over there, and I said, you're the best one we have, and I'm just going to put you on the Layne's team. And then marketing, we went out and got somebody that was over at Top Golf, and we said, hey, we don't even have a marketing budget right now, but we need you to develop a plan.
Right.
Let's do this. And so we started. We hired more trainers. We just started building this. We started building this machine and got everybody ready. And there was some downtime. We didn't have enough work for everybody to do.
Yeah.
But the idea was we need to get to where we can build 50 restaurants a year.
This is why people go to private equity.
Right.
Because they realize that they need to build the house before they move into it, but
Correct.
their current model cannot support the house.
Correct.
So they have to go for the second round. So, hey, when you're opening, you need to go raise $2 million. You probably don't have 2 pennies to rub together. You need to go to your friends, families, and fools. And then the second round is, okay, well, if we want to take this thing from 6 locations or 8 locations to 20 locations, we need to go get the venture capital, the people who see we have something that has legs.
Yep.
You were fortunate enough to have success in your past lives. You're a network of partners who has their own equity, their earned equity over a lifetime of past careers, right? That they can put into it. So you're at a very privileged place right now where you're able to do this.
Oh yeah.
But the foresight to know that you need to build a house before you move in, I think is really great.
Yeah, and that was a Matt thing.
Yeah.
And he was in private equity, right? So I think he had seen this time and time again. Like, hey, here's how private equity is successful. They're going to go and dump this money in there. Fortunately, like you said, Matt and I had the money to say, we don't want any partners. We don't want anybody in this. We're just going to write the checks ourselves.
Yeah.
So we built the beast. We built the behemoth, and this will be the first year we open 20, 30 stores.
Because of your...
And it doesn't even feel like it feels like the days when we would build 4 or 5 stores. It's like easier now, like because the system's in place.
Well, you're also creating opportunity for other, and you're attracting onto yourself great people, and you're not doing it alone anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think there's something that I've been sitting on that I think is your unique ability beyond your leadership skills and your visionary skills, is that you are this unique combination of developer who has gone all in on a concept, and you have all this like site selection and like all this experience which is usually a new skill set, or typically some type of an integrator that an entrepreneur has to hire out the use of the world to go out and find the real estate. But you have like this. You almost like reverse engineered it. Like you started with that unique skill set that you usually need like 10 years in or whatever. And you already have this. So
I got lucky.
Well, one thing I'm curious about is just like in terms of site selection in markets and like where is the like, what advice do you have for my listeners? You're a master in site selection and human behavior and real estate and all this sort of thing.
Pretty good at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's like, you now have this unfair advantage in a way of like, I know where to put a restaurant and how to build that restaurant. And now I have this machine of that's cranking out this concept that has legs and culture and brand. And like that is like an unstoppable, pun intended, like, combination. So like, I want to get into your head of like, with who you uniquely are. Where are you opening restaurants? What's your strategy? What does that look like? Like, what are the markets? Like, what are you looking for in a market?
The first thing we're looking for is the right partner. So I don't care where the market is. It could be in Maine. It could be in California. That's irrelevant to me. The very first thing is the person, do they believe in the concept? Do they have the ability to execute a restaurant? Do they have the capital to grow? If you can check those boxes, then you can tell me what territory you want to be in, and I can go apply the science and the logic and everything I've done for all these years and build a development plan that will make them successful. And so really it's about finding the right partner. Find the right partner, and then we will build the plan, the growth plan for you.
What does building a growth development plan look like? What is that? When you say that, what does that entail?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get super down into it, I mean, it's you go into a trade, or you go into a market and you say, how many trade areas are in this market?
How many what?
Trade areas. So how many points of
like marketplaces?
Where can you put a restaurant that would find itself successful? So you're gonna dissect a market. You might say Dallas, Texas, you can do 50 here.
Right, there's so many.
Right, yeah. So you say, okay, if we're going to plan to do 50 here, where would be the 50 best locations to put us in, right? So we look at it from 100,000 feet up, right? And we say, okay, here's the 50 locations, and then we basically draw rings around them.
So by locations, are you talking about like communities, like Dallas? Have you ever been to Dallas? There's Dallas, but it's like Dallas, Fort Worth, Plano, like all these different like sub towns and communities. Are those the different markets?
No, I would even drill in tighter than that.
Okay.
Yeah. So Plano might have 4 markets in it, trade areas in it.
Like, so you're talking about like where like
trading hubs,
like a marketplace, like
Correct.
where there's like a market, like a center, a shopping center, right, with like people going to do shopping.
Right.
So that's what you're
where are the fast food hubs, okay, right? And where are the successful fast food hubs? And we have all these, and they're not unique to us, but all the data on what does Chick-fil-A do? What does Raising Cane's do? What does Whataburger do? What does McDonald's do? We can look and see where the A sites are and the B sites. So we're going to go ahead and build a plan that says, here's the 50 places in this market. And then we get on the ground and we actually start to talk about the trade characteristics of what makes a good Layne's restaurant, right?
So now demographics?
Demographics is the easiest one. Those are just, hey, are we in the upper demographic? Is there enough population there? Okay. So now you're starting to look at the traffic patterns, right? Okay. Are we on the going home side of the street? Or are we going to the work side of the street? Are we, do we have easy accessibility? What is the ingress like? What is the egress like? Are we near a light?
What's ingress and egress?
Ingress is how you would get into the property, and egress would be how you get out of the property. What is your decision time? Like a really important thing is decision time. When you're driving down the street, how much time do you have from recognizing concept and having the ability to decide to go into that concept, right? There's a lot of great sites that you kind of get by them, and your decision time was, whoa.
Oh, that would have been a good idea.
I'm gonna jump into the egress here and try to get in, right? So, do you have the proper decision time? What does that mean in terms of signage? What can you get in that market? So that's the really drilling down we do.
If I were to do a workshop on this stuff, is there a name that comes to mind who is the master at this?
My brother.
Your brother?
Oh, he's our chief development officer, Garrett Reed. Yep. He is, he could do a master class on site selection. I mean, I'm good at it. There's very few people in this industry. I can think of maybe 1 or 2 that are at his level. And I'm not just saying that because he's my brother.
You see the smile on my face right now?
I'm
chomping at it.
If you want to sit down with him and do a podcast just about real estate site selection, you guys could talk for hours.
And what is this called again? Real estate site selection?
Site selection,
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Market planning, site selection, whatever you want to talk. I mean, the the amount of energy, if you're going to properly develop a market, that goes into it should be an extraordinary amount of energy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, I always said this, being a developer, the real estate guys build the house that the operator has to live in for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to build that house, and that goes to where you place the house, what neighborhood the house is in, what materials you build it with, the quality you build it with, all those kinds of things. And then you got to if you don't have that vision that I'm building a home for this person to live in for the next 20 years, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it starts with protect the franchisee, and it's not just the four walls of their operation, but it's everything leading into people getting into that four walls. It's the community. It's setting them up for success.
Yep, absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
What have the challenges been for you going from 8 to 25? Like, that is a huge amount of scale in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. I think it was harder to go from like 8 to 10 or to 12 than where we're at now. Just because we didn't have the cachet, the brand awareness. You know, we've always kind of been new. At this point, we can sit down and talk to potential landlords or potential vendors, and people we're kind of getting a name for ourselves.
Reputation.
Yeah. So it becomes a little bit easier now.
So that's at the franchise level of developing the franchise, right? Of like building the franchise awareness.
Yeah.
And getting the momentum on those relationships. And you're about to, you said in the next year you want to go to 40 something locations?
We'll end this year between 40 and 45.
So in the next 9 months, you're going to almost double in size.
We will. Yeah. We'll add another, 25 now. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your concerns, if any, with that?
I should have a bunch of concerns. I'm so confident in my team. You know, I used to worry about us being able to execute the training, because we do a lot of training or new store openings a week before, a week after, and we send a big team out there. But with the stores we've opened this year, the feedback we've gotten from kind of some of our, I mean, we've had a lot of these people on board for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And so you worry about that, but now it's gone so smoothly so far, to this point. In opening these next doors, I don't really have any true concerns.
When you were with Starbucks, do you remember that was a gentleman there by the name of Chris Schultz?
Yes, the name's familiar. I can't say I knew him.
So I had Chris on the show.
Okay.
I think he was I can't remember his exact title. But
so familiar.
I could look it up. I can't, but I had him on the show. He's now with Voodoo Donut.
Okay.
And we did a conversation on how to scale culture.
Okay, that's I need to watch that podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, they're my fear. Do we keep our culture?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? So like with opportunity and growth and speed, and you got to put people into those roles. So if you're moving at a certain speed, like how do you make sure that you're attracting onto yourself the right people to sustain the culture? Yeah.
So two different pieces of culture. The culture internally. So I'd say at corporate, I'm not worried about that because I've personally been able to onboard and train and work with. Everybody here knows the culture. I think more the culture fear is at the store level. That's why it's so important to make sure that you have the right partner, right? So when they first come on board and we sit in this conference room and we talk about what their vision is and what their theory on how to run a business and all that kind of stuff, you know, that's where that's got to come in. But cultures, I mean, as you scale, I mean, it's tough to keep, and that's where, you know, I've got to spend time with my franchisees. We got to go around and visit our stores and make sure that we keep that culture. But the culture inside in these four walls in the corporate, I'm not.
Well, that's kind of the next thing I'm curious about. When you're putting out there and you're trying to find the right franchisee, right? So what does your selection process look like? What are those filters to make sure you're finding the right person to take this franchise and to bring it to their community?
Okay.
Because I think that's the next level, right? Behind every great organization is a great person. Your next layer is obviously your executive team around you, but then it's probably, you would say, the next franchisee, right?
Right. So everybody goes online and fills out the basic. Do I have enough money? Do I have enough experience?
I went through that process. It's how I got on your radar.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I was like, how do I get these guys' attention? So I basically filled out the form to become a franchisee.
And did Matt call you or somebody call you?
Somebody reached out to me.
Okay.
You guys figured it out.
Okay.
I kind of worked the system a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. See, you don't take no for an answer like me.
But I thought what was cool is that there was a very specific process for finding. And then there was also like email follow-up and like automation. And like you guys have a tight franchise system.
So Matt does all that. Somebody
Sorry.
telling us to leave?
I don't know. People are looking like they're still going.
Yeah. They're like, I didn't know Garrett could talk that long. Matt runs all that.
Okay.
So
O'Reilly.
So he screens every single person that's interested. We don't have a franchise sales department.
Okay.
So he talks to them, and he gets a feeling as an owner. And is this, through those first couple conversations on the phone, and then he'll bring it to us and say, we should bring them in for a discovery day.
Got it.
And the discovery day is like your first date, right? He's like talking to a girl on the phone, and then, they ask us on a date or we ask them on a date, then we actually go on a date.
Got it.
And we spend a lot of time with them here in the office, and, go out to the restaurant, try the food, do all that kind of stuff, typical discovery days. And we go out and see what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So,
so 25 total units as of today, 45 before the end of the year. How many of those units are in Texas?
You're asking me questions I should know the answer to.
I'm sure it might be on your website, but I guess.
The coming soon. It's probably half.
Okay.
I would say half.
I think at least 15 of your units were all in Texas before going outside of Texas.
That sounds right. Yeah.
So
now we're in Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, West Virginia. We just opened in Virginia, Utah. Arkansas is a big growth market for us.
What's the goal? What's the vision? How many restaurants do you want?
Oh, I hope that my children open 10,000 of them. I don't know. I don't want to stop.
So why? Like, what is it for you? What's the end game? Like, what's your vision? What are you hoping to get out of this? Like, what is like the perfect scenario for you?
I truly want to continue to deliver opportunity for people, whether they're a franchisee or somebody that works internally. I want to pass the try. I don't want to sell lanes. I don't want private equity buy lanes. I want this group of people here. My son works here. Both of my children started in the restaurants when they were 14. My son now works here at corporate. I want them to carry the torch. So, I want them to have a business. I want they understand my vision. The people here understand the vision and just continue to have a great brand. Not to turn into the McDonald's of the world or the Wendy's of the world, just a brand that has the right culture and the right food, and not to bastardize that.
How would what you're going to do be different from the McDonald's and the Wendy's of the world?
I think that they stop being. I'm not the founder, so that's kind of hard to say this, but they're not founder run any longer. They're a publicly traded company. They're not founder run anymore. I mean, you can look at any great brands. I mean, even Dutch Bros Coffee. They were a huge client of mine as a real estate developer.
They're out of Portland, right?
No, they're out of Grants Pass, Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're on my radar for potential. I'm like, the downside of doing everything in person is like, I don't know when I'm going to be in Oregon next.
Yeah, Grants Pass is a tough place to get to.
Yeah.
They've got some really interesting guys there, and I could help you get in touch with some of them. But they ended up selling out to private equity and going public, which is great. But even in a great cultured company like that, you start to see the missing of the founder running it. And I think that's what happened. Ray Kroc wasn't truly the founder, but, Thomas.
He took it what it was.
Right.
He took it to the next. He was the founder of the next level.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to be able to pass it on to a group of people that have that same passion and vision for it.
So
not somebody from the outside.
In full transparency, my probing, the intention behind my probing and trying to figure out like, what is your end game? What are you trying to do? What I'm trying to do with my podcast is find that sweet spot of like scale and balance. How do you maintain the thing that, was so special from the beginning? And as you scale, how do you keep that magic right? And what is that sweet spot between, I believe if you're not growing, you're dying, right?
Yeah.
But what does growth look like? And like, what is that sweet spot of scale and culture? You know, like, how do we find it? And I don't know the answer. And that's why, like, I want to hear your perspective.
You know, I don't know the answer either. I think we'll get to within the next 24 months to where we're opening 100 units a year. But we'll find out along the way if we can keep that balance and that the right perspective. If one thing, we're flexible, right? And we've proven that as we've grown this brand. And we have the luxury of being flexible and that we don't have any investors to answer to. So we have the ability to either throttle on or throttle off. But, you know, I'd like to see in the next 24 months to where we're opening 100 units a year. I think that with this team is very doable, very sustainable. Would I like to be opening 200 a year? Yeah, that sounds cool too. You know, that might be a bit much.
Yeah.
You know, that sounds like you're
Is there
really
a total
kind of
location? Do you think that's too much? Like, is there a cap?
Well, I mean, there has to be a cap, but it's not in my lifetime.
Okay.
I know that for sure.
What makes you sure?
Well,
I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah. Well, if you look at Chick-fil-A or Raising Cane's or Zaxby's,
right.
You know, those guys are all well over 1,000 units, right? Or Raising Cane's just hit 1,000 units, I think. But Chick-fil-A and Zaxby's, those guys, well over 1,000 units. They have runway for days. I mean, you can go put those in many different places.
Everyone loves chicken.
Everybody loves chicken. So even if we were to say start today and start opening up 250, 300 a year, I'm too old at this point, right? So the runway's longer than me. So it's my job to teach, to transfer my vision and my passion for the brand onto those next guys so that they can take it to there.
I've had so much fun talking to you, man.
I love this.
Yeah, it's fun. We're over an hour of talking.
We got to go
2
smoke
hours
a cigar.
I would love to make that happen.
Let's do that.
Anything we have not discussed up to this point that you were hoping would come out of today's conversation that
this
didn't come up?
This has been a super fun. I mean, literally, this has been the fastest
Thank you.
conversation I've ever had.
Well, that is the ultimate compliment. I would love to follow up with some of the folks that you have here on your team to go deeper. Like, I love getting into tech stack. Do you even know your tech stack, or is that solely like outsourced to Samir?
No clue.
Okay. I had a feeling. I get it, man. If I was in your position, I'd probably be saying the same exact thing. So a couple questions we wrap up with every guest. What is one thing about your business, a value, a process, a system that makes you truly uncommon and unstoppable?
What is one? I think it's just what makes me unstoppable is just a love of the brand.
What is it that you love about the brand?
I know that's hard to say. You know, why do you love your kids, right?
It's a feeling, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's there's not one thing. It's just going into a Layne's or seeing a TikTok that pops up, and it's just pride. It's love. Love's hard to define.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just Layne's.
I love it.
I just love Layne's.
The mission statement is to change the world through inspiring, empowering, and transforming the restaurant industry. We transform the restaurant industry by sharing stories of transformation one at a time. If we can help give perspective of how each individual behind these brands I'm making an example of have transformed, I think we can change the world. But how have you personally transformed? How are you a better man today than the man you were when you got started in this industry?
Oh gosh, I'm such a better man in the restaurant industry. To truly understand, to be in a position where you affect people's lives, I'm a better person because of that.
Why?
To be able to watch, there's so many stories of, you know, a kid that may not have the best home life, a girl that's broken up with her boyfriend, a guy whose prom date stood them up. You can go on and on and on. Somebody whose car is broken down, but to be there at that stage in somebody's life and to be a a voice maybe outside of the normal voices that they have. I'd never had that experience before.
Yeah, it's powerful.
I've never had that experience before.
I think that it's that ability to have that impact on young people, and
it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, this industry has transformative power.
Mm-hmm. It really does.
Yeah. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow.
Okay.
All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom you could leave behind for your legacy and for the good of humanity. What are those 3 pieces of wisdom? You gotta end on a big one, man.
Wow, that is a deep question. Okay.
Pretend it's your son or your daughter. I don't know if you have kids.
Yeah, no, I've got 2. I would say if it's just kind of like a thing to them, I would tell them to always be patient.
1.
I tell them to always love.
2.
And I would tell them to be fierce.
3. This has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you so much, Garrett. I've really enjoyed today's
Eric, this
conversation.
has been great.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It's been really good.
I mean it. And this is last question is how I find all my future guests. This is my North Star. Yeah. I think success recognizes success. Good people recognize good people. This is what I like to say makes my show journalistic in nature. Mm-hmm. Who do you respect and admire? Who's out there in the world of restaurants, somebody who you've had your eye on and you just like, if you could just listen to this person spill their guts like you spilled your guts for us today?
I would say Trav Borsman over at Dutch Bros.
What is his name again?
Trav. Yeah, he and his brother Dane founded Dutch Bros. His brother's since passed on. He's incredible. God, his story's phenomenal. If you could get some time with him, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I think you should talk to Samir. You should talk to Eric.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah,
I'm here now.
100%. Yeah,
I'll be around for the next week and a half too.
I mean, if you want to, let's talk afterwards. But
Yeah.
if you want to get Eric in here, I would highly recommend. If we can get Samir in here, we could do that as well. There's some good people that Aaron Harris over at Dutch Bros. He runs their real estate department. He's unbelievable. There's a guy named Mike Dennis, Mike D. He was at Dutch Bros. He's another good guy.
Well, we're going to have a cigar after this. I think the conversation is going to continue.
Yeah.
And, I'd love to hear more from you and learn more from you. And I can't wait to do that. And I literally cannot do what I do without people like you taking the time to get vulnerable, to get transparent, to get honest, to be excited, to share.
This is super cool.
I can't do what I do without people like you. You make my job possible, man. So thank you so much. And how can we connect if we want to follow your brand as it grows? Or maybe we are a leading restaurateur that meets your high standards to become a franchisee. We're interested in bringing Layne's to our market. What's the best way to connect?
Laynes.com.
Awesome.
Yep.
And this is where I say, man, there is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
Thank you.